Welcome to Chappy's Tiki Bar. This episode, I'm not going to Vegas. This is episode number 12, and again, I'm not going to Las Vegas this episode. Also this episode, I'm going to make Chicago deep dish pizza. I'm going to make a Kahiki Kai from Frankie's Tiki Room in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I'm going to do best tropical destination stories, Las Vegas style. Again, I'm not going to Vegas. Aloha, and welcome to another installment of Chappy's Tiki Bar. This is episode number 12. This is the I'm Not Going to Las Vegas episode. I'm Chappy. This is my bar. With me, as always, is Fred. And this, of course, is Mookie. Mookie's going to be along a little later for Best Tropical Destination Story. So as I said, this is the I'm Not Going to Las Vegas episode. I had planned a trip to Las Vegas for my birthday. Of course, that was canceled. So basically on day one, I had three things planned. I was going to check into my hotel room, of course. I had a reservation at the Silverton. I hadn't stayed there yet, but I've been there many times. This place has a wonderful mermaid bar in the lounge. And they have, on Saturday nights, a Hawaiian buffet with all the Hawaiian goodies, including, you can see here, this is a whole hog pig that you'd find at a Hawaiian luau or pig roast. Secondly, I was going to go to dinner at Giordano Chicago Deep Dish, which is located just in front of Bally's at the Grand Bazaar Shops on the Strip. The Chicago Deep Dish, of course, the original Giordano's is in Chicago. So I'm going to try to recreate a Chicago Deep Dish from Giordano's at home here. And then thirdly, when I got to Las Vegas, I was going to go straight to Frankie's Tiki Room and have a few beverages. You might have noticed on episode number 4, part 2, I had the recipe book for Frankie's Tiki Room, and I made some cocktails. So I'll try to recreate another cocktail from Frankie's Tiki Room from that recipe book. Now, I think I misplaced the recipe book. If I only knew where it was. Oh, here it is. So I'm going to make a Kahiki Kai. This creamy delight of pure island freshness provides the perfect escape for the perfect state of mind. So it calls for 1 ounce of coconut rum, 1 ounce of cream de banana, 1 ounce of Coco Lopez. Coco Lopez is either a backup singer for Carlos Santana or something you may pay a Mexican prostitute to do. Now on Chappy's Tiki Bar, we don't condone paying for Coco Lopez's. Then it calls for 3 ounces of pineapple juice and a ½ ounce of Whaler's Original Dark Rum. A sliced banana for garnish, fill a 17-ounce snifter with ice, and then add coconut rum, cream de banana, Coco Lopez, and pineapple juice. Pour contents into a cocktail shaker, shake vigorously, and then pour into a snifter. Float Whaler's rum on top, serve garnish with banana slice. And that's a Kahiki Kai. We'll give that a shot. Alrighty then. So I'm going to go ahead and make a Kahiki Kai from the recipe book of Frankie's Tiki Room in Las Vegas, Nevada. But first he has a little write-up here about Don the Beachcomber. So Don the Beachcomber is basically the guy that started the entire tiki bar craze. So it says, Don the Beachcomber, adventurer Don Beach, who had enjoyed the hedonistic delights of rum and sex on the laid-back islands of the South Pacific, brought his version of paradise to Hollywood when he opened the original Don the Beachcomber Cafe in 1934. 3 years later, the cafe expanded and moved across the street, becoming a popular celebrity hangout, fueled by his menu of potent cocktails that included such soon-to-be classics as the Mai Tai and the Zombie. Beach had always been more of a promoter than a businessman, and his ex-wife controlled the company when the restaurant was later franchised in cities including Chicago and Palm Springs. This made the man with his name on the sign at most an advisor when the outpost of Don the Beachcomber opened in Las Vegas at the Sahara Hotel and Casino in 1962. Though not quite as popular with the locals as the iconic neighborhood Aku Aku at the Stardust, Don the Beachcomber was every bit the strip hotspot, with a Polynesian menu, exotic cocktails, and dancing late into the night. But as Las Vegas transformed its imaginative anything-goes heyday to corporate cookie-cutter myopia, so too faded the frolicsome desert outpost of Don the Beachcomber, which finally crapped out in the mid-1980s. All right, so that was Don the Beachcomber's footprint in Las Vegas. And now I'm going to go ahead and make a Kahiki Kai. Now I have my martini shaker. Going to add some ice. Now I need a glass. I don't have any... Oh, I do have a glass, but it's full of scotch. What to do? Oh, 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 oh. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and make that Kahiki Kai. I got my empty glass. Oh, wait a minute. There is an empty glass right here. All right, so I'm going to make a Kahiki Kai. 1 ounce of coconut rum. And I had already put some ice in the martini shaker. We're going to go 1 ounce of creme de banana. And 3 ounces of pineapple juice. And this is the Coco Lopez. So it's I got it in the States. You probably can't find it in Canada, so just get cream of coconut. This comes in a can, and it's sort of just like a really goopy coconut creamy syrup. All right, give it a shake. Into the glass it goes. And I have the banana garnish, and this is actually a swizzle stick from Frankie's Tiki Room. So that is a Kahiki Kai. Coming up next, we're going to bring Mookie in, and I'm going to do Best Tropical Destination Stories. All right, welcome to another installment of Best Tropical Destination Stories. I'm going to get Mookie to summon the tiki drums in a moment. Now, Mookie, what is this? What does that say? That doesn't look like you, Mookie. It's like a German Shepherd. Why did you put that up there? All right, so Mookie's going to summon the tiki drums for Best Tropical Destination Story. So if you do have a Best Tropical Destination Story, send them to chappiness@yahoo.com, and I'll read your Best Tropical Destination Story on my show. All right, Mookie's go summon the tiki drums, Mookie. Here we go. Thank you, Mookie. All right, so this tropical destination story comes from me again. Now, to work in the Vegas theme, it's not really a tropical destination story, but there is a pool party involved. So I was in Vegas, and my friend Robin, who I'd worked with in the casinos on the cruise ships, was now working at Mandalay Bay. She was working on the graveyard shift. She was done at 5 a.m. and invited me to go for breakfast when she was done her gravy shift. So I met her at Mandalay Bay. We get into her car, and she says she didn't really feel like brekkie, but she could go for a drink. I says, why not? So we went to her neighborhood bar, which happened to be Four Kegs, which is famous for their calzones and was featured on diners, drive-ins, and dives. I was amazed when we walked into the place, sometime just before 6 a.m. The place was packed wall-to-wall people. Turns out Las Vegas is full of shift workers, and even if their shift is over very early in the morning, sometimes they like to go for a drink or two. As many bars never close in Las Vegas, I just could not believe the place was full of casino workers, service industry people, and all locals. You really could not tell if it was 6 a.m. or 6 p.m. Now, I was staying at a casino. The name of the hotel and casino where I was staying at was actually named Terribles. It is now Silver Sevens, but before it was Terribles, it was the old Continental. It's located on Paradise, just a few blocks down from the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. Now, the reason I mention this is that morning I was checking out of Terribles and checking into the Hard Rock. So somehow I had the presence of mind to move my bags from Terribles to the Hard Rock, leaving them at the bell desk. So at 10 a.m. I just had to check out of Terribles and mosey across the street to the Hard Rock. I know I'm digressing a bit, but I was very disappointed to hear the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas is no more. That was one of my all-time favorite places to stay in Vegas. I stayed there at least on 8 different occasions. I used to have the same joke every time I walked through the casino floor. Like all Hard Rock cafes, they had numerous displays of musical acts. They had a display of Calgary's own Tegan and Sarah. So I like this joke so much, I would say it every time I walked by the Tegan and Sarah display. Even if I was by myself, I would stop a complete stranger. I would just point at the display and act surprised that someone from my hometown had a display at the Hard Rock. And then I'd proclaim, Tegan and Sarah, best boy band to ever come out of Calgary. They did have a lot of great displays there. I remember one time I was looking at the Tupac display. They had the outfit he wore to the Mike Tyson fight the night he died. He was shot riding passenger in Suge Knight's car on the corner of Flamingo and Koval, which is not far from the Hard Rock. And in between is Ellis Island, which is the very first place I ever stayed in Vegas. Back then it was the Super 8. That was New Year's 1997. And I remember one time on Koval in front of this Ellis Island, there was this homeless guy lying on his side with his back to traffic. Now this is about 3 in the afternoon and it's about a block off the strip. So there's still some foot traffic. But anyways, the bypassers had to maneuver around this steady stream of urine as he was having a pee lying on his side. He still was considerate enough to hide it from the oncoming traffic, or I suppose if there was a police officer driving by. But I digress. Anyways, I was looking at the Tupac display at the Hard Rock, and this lady comes up to me. I'm certain she was from South Central, because she goes, "Where are the bullet holes at?" I said, "I think he might have changed before after he went to the fight." So back to my original story with Robin. I go to Terribles to check out, and it's around 10:30 in the morning. We'd been drinking for a good 4 hours. So then we hit the casino lounge at the Hard Rock, right on the casino floor. It was called Center Bar because it was located actually in the center of the casino. The next part is a little fuzzy, but the reason I remember the name of the bar, days later I'd found a receipt in my pant pocket that said Center Bar, Hard Rock Casino, 10:30 a.m., 8 double rye and cokes. I have no recollection of ordering or drinking 8 double rye and cokes. It's kind of like the movie The Hangover. I may or may not have shot dice at some point. I do remember trying to check into my room around 1 p.m. They told me the room would not be ready until 3 p.m., which is pretty much standard in Las Vegas. At this point, I had lost Robin, and I had a couple hours to kill, only I was crashing hard. I did not want to end up like the guy on Koval lying on my side with my putt in my hand, pissing on myself. So I had to come up with a plan. So I had walked back to Terrible's. As I was previously staying there, I knew the pool had easy access and it was connected to the gift shop where you could purchase wine, spirits, and beer. And they would let you drink it openly in the pool area. So I purchased 2 16-ounce cans of Mike's Hard Lemonade, drank them down, and passed out by the pool. After a few hours, I staggered back to the Hard Rock. Now, this happened to be Sunday, and on Sundays, the Hard Rock was renowned for epic pool parties called Rehab X. I believe the Hard Rock started the massive pool party craze in Vegas with this Rehab X pool party. I did not think much of it at the time, as it was just a bunch of drunk kids staggering around the casino in swimming attire. However, at this point, I was beyond staggering drunk, so I finally got in my room. I did not even bother to take my shoes off. I just passed out on the bed. I was then awoken by a sudden knock at the door. Now, this is completely true, hand to God. I opened the door and there was a beautiful topless woman with perfect large breasts, completely exposed, standing at my door. My jaw dropped. Then, without saying a word, she pushed on the door as to force her way into my room. I panicked and pushed the door back, basically slamming the door in her face. I went back to bed. My mind was racing. Was it just some poor woman that got locked out of her room and I missed the opportunity to rescue her? Or was this something a bit more nefarious, possibly a prostitute trying to force her way in for the purpose of blackmail? Or had I been so drunk that the whole thing was just a figment of my imagination? The whole thing did seem a bit surreal, like I was watching it in a movie, and it really did not happen. After all, I was plowed and just came out of an unconscious state. It did not take long, and I was passed out on the bed again, this time taking my shoes off. Then there was a second knock at the door. I was in such a deep sleep, I really did not know how much time had passed. It could have been a minute, it could have been an hour. I laid in bed contemplating what to do. Then another more forceful knock at the door. Then I decided if I did not get this girl's story, it would eat at me for the rest of my days. So I roll out of bed. This time it was the same girl, still topless, but this time she was with a dude. I asked, "What do you want?" The girl said, "Can I come in?" I said, "Okay." She gave me a hug and said thank you. They both came in. I assumed they were locked out of the room. I asked, "Are you guys staying here?" She replied, "No," with no explanation. She is still topless and not making an effort to cover up. She definitely had an exotic dancer type vibe and the body to match. Then after I stopped staring at her breasts, I noticed she was wearing bikini bottoms and the guy was wearing swimming trunks. Then it finally dawned on me. Rehab X. They must have been partying all day at the pool. Then what happened next is even more surreal. The guy and the girl started to go at it on the bed. The room had 2 queen-size beds. The guy got on top of the girl on the made bed that I had not been sleeping in. I thought, well, this is an interesting turn of events. So I went over to the dresser and poured myself a whiskey and then sat in the chair at the desk and began to watch the show. The guy says to me, "Isn't my wife beautiful?" I think this may have been my cue to join in. I was so drunk, and again, it was just like kind of being in a movie. Like an idiot, I mumbled something like, "Yeah, great, yeah, she's great." So after they did some heavy petting, the guy takes off his swimming trunks, and it appears the dude is having trouble maintaining an erection. It might have been a combination of partying all day and the audience of one. So I say, "I think you guys should probably go." And they did. So that's my best tropical destination story, Las Vegas. However, that's probably not my best Vegas story. Probably not even close. My best Vegas story involves my friend Scott throwing up in his mouth at the Rio, a mix-up at the valet, a witch that is, or a woman dressed up as a witch that's clearly on drugs, and a missing Escalade. But in the words of Hammy Hamster, but that's another story. So again, send your best tropical destination stories to chappiness@yahoo.com, and I'll read it on an upcoming episode. Coming up next, I'm going to make some deep dish pizza. Alright, so this is the first part of our Las Vegas series. You might be wondering why I'm making Chicago deep dish. Previous trip to Chicago, I had the best Chicago deep dish in Chicago, in my opinion. It's Giordano's in Chicago. Now they opened a restaurant in Las Vegas. It's right close to Bally's. So I'm going to try to replicate the pizza that I had at Giordano's. Now I'm going to steal an idea from Pequod's, which is another Chicago deep dish restaurant in Chicago. What I'll do there is I have some provolone cheese, and I'm going to put it around the edges, and it's going to give a nice burnt caramelization crust on the outer edges of the Chicago deep dish pizza. Now Giordano's, their crust actually tastes a little bit like pie crust. So I tried this out, and it actually tastes a lot like the Giordano's pizza crust. So I have some just store-bought pizza dough that I let rise, and I put a little bit of olive oil on it. And then so how I'm going to get the pie crust effect is I actually bought some store-bought pie crust. Now this comes in 2 shells. I'm going to use the 1 shell out of the 2, and I'll combine it up with the pizza dough. So I'm just I have the pizza dough here, and I'm just adding the pie crust dough, and we're going to combine it up. I think the pie crust has like lard or some kind of fat in it, so it's going to make it sort of crispy and flaky like a pie crust. Alright, so I got my giant cast iron skillet. I'm just going to give it a quick spray with some non-stick spray. I have butter spray, but olive oil spray would probably work nicely. Or you could just put a little bit of olive oil on there. Alright, so I'm going to get the dough in there. Alright, so now I'm going to work on the crust. And again, this is stolen from Pequod's in Chicago, Illinois. So I'm just putting the provolone cheese all around. And this is it's almost going to turn black and caramelize, and it's going to look burnt, but it will be delicious. Alright, so you can see I have the cheese crust placed all around the dough. Now next up, with Chicago deep dish pizza, they always put the cheese on the dough directly. Because it's more like a casserole, it prevents it from getting soggy, and that's just how they do it in Chicago. So it's more provolone cheese is going directly onto the dough. So next up, another Vegas implant. For the pizza sauce, I'm going to use Rayo's homemade tomato basil pasta sauce. Now the story behind Rayo's is it's a restaurant in New York City, and it's almost impossible to get a reservation there. Now they opened Rayo's in Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, and I've eaten there, and it is awesome. And if you're ever just going to buy jarred sauce or use a pizza sauce, and I think they do make pizza sauce, but I like the tomato and basil sauce the best. They are by far the best jarred sauce to get. So I'm just going to put the sauce on the pizza. Now I'm not going to overdo it. I'm just going to put little dollops on there. All right, and then for my meat, a lot of Chicago deep dishes have sausage, and another great Chicago deep dish restaurant is Geno's East. Now at Geno's, we've eaten there, and the sausage, they actually encompass the whole pizza with a disc of sausage, so it's the size of a hubcap. I've found that kind of kicked my ass. It was like eating a triple cheeseburger. So I just cooked off some cut up sausage in a marinara sauce, and I'm just going to put that on top. And then, last but not least, I'm just going to add a little bit of the Pecorino Romano cheese just on top. I think if you saw the game day episode, I made a reference to it comes from little tiny sheep nipples. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then we're going to put it in the oven, quite a high temperature for quite a long time. So I'll do 400 degrees for 45 minutes to an hour, and we'll see where we're at then.
Thank you for watching episode number 12 of Chappy's Tiki Bar, Not Going to Las Vegas episode. Please leave any comments in the comment section below. Also, if it's not too much to ask, can you freaking subscribe? I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want in a YouTube channel. I can tell you, I don't have money. But what I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. If you subscribe to Chappy's Tiki Bar now, that'll be the end of it. I will not look for you. I will not pursue you. But if you don't, I will look for you, and I will find you. And I will bite you in the ankle. See you next time on Chappy's Tiki Bar.